What's up, guys? Arkno here. Today I'm going to be covering the new archetype known as Digital Bugs that we just got out of Shining Victories. Um, I think this was probably the deck that I was most hyped for in the Shining Victories. Now, I love Lunalights, that's probably my favorite deck out of it right now. And I haven't seen very many Digital Bug decks. I've seen a lot of them Morphage, and I've seen a decent amount of Lunalights. And I don't know, maybe people are using Morphage because they're kind of slow and they're hard to build and whatnot, but um, right now I'm kind of liking Lunalight's the best, but digital bugs are also very fun. So I decided let's talk about the archetype and some of the mechanics of it, and just the cards in general. So let's start off by reading all the effects of the cards, then we'll kind of talk about the deck afterwards. So first up, we have the digital bug Web Soldier here, or Web Soldier. And his effect reads that it cannot be used as an XZ material for an XZ summon except for the XZ summon of an insect type XZ monster. Once per turn, you can target one face-up attack position monster you control, change it to defense position, and if you do, special summon one level 3 insect type monster from your hand in defense position. An XZ monster that was summoned using this card on the field as XZ material gains this effect. If it is XZ summoned, the defense of all monsters your opponent controls become 0. Also, change those monsters to defense position. So, that does it up for the Web Soldier. Next up, we have the Cocoon Denser. Its effect reads that it cannot be used as an XZ material for an XZ summon except for the XZ summon of an insect type monster. Once per turn, if this card is in attack position, you can target one level 3 insect type monster in your graveyard, change this card to defense position, and if you do, special summon that monster in defense position as an XZ monster that was summoned using this card on the field. In defense position, an XZ summoned monster that was summoned using this card on the field as an XZ material gains this effect. If this card attacks a defense position monster, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. So kind of like an Armada is when it's when an XZ attacks that has this underneath it. So pretty cool. For the last of the main deck digital bugs, because we only have 3 main deck digital bugs, but we have digital bug Centibit. Its effect reads that it cannot be used for as an XZ material for an XZ summon, except for the XZ summon of an insect type monster. Once per turn, when this card is changed from attack position to defense position, you can special summon one level 3 insect type monster from your deck in defense position. An XZ monster that was summoned using this card on the field as XZ material gains this effect. This card can attack all defense position monsters your opponent controls once each. So this one with Cocoon Denser works out pretty well because it switches your opponent's monsters to defense, and then he can attack all of them each, and then Cocoon Denser also turns their defense to 0. So you're just going to roll over all their monsters. Alright, so that is it up for the main decked digital bugs. Now let's go into the extra ones. We have the digital bug Scaradier, which is the lowest level or lowest rank digital bug. Its effect, it's an insect XZ effect. It needs 2 or more level 3 insect type monsters. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach 2 XZ materials from this card, then target one monster your opponent controls, change its battle position, and if you do, it has its effects negated until the end of this turn. Once per turn, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can attach the destroyed monster to this card as an XZ material. Now, in all the duels I've done with digital bugs, this is probably my favorite one. Just because it kind of keeps your opponent's monsters from attacking you in general. Unless your opponent's Cosmos, of course, then you're going to want to make the biggest one. But this is still really good. And then for our next digital bug or the next extra digital bug, that is the rank 5, which is, you make this with the rank 3 one. So, digital bug Corbage. It's a rank 5 insect XZ effect. It takes 2 or more level 5 light insect type monsters, and its effect reads that you can also exceed this card by detaching 2 XZ materials from a rank 3 or 4 insect type XZ monster you control. Then using that XZ material or that XZ monster as the XZ materials attached to that monster also become XZ materials on this card. Once per turn, once per turn you can detach 1 XZ material from this card, then target one defense position monster your opponent controls, shuffle into the deck, and then once per turn, if the battle position of a monster or monsters on the field has changed, you can attach 1 insect type monster from your graveyard to this card as an XZ material. So, this is actually probably my least favorite XZ for the digital bugs. I just don't see it being very useful. I don't know. And it's like stats aren't too much greater than a Scurator. So Corbage is not too great, but you need him to get to the best one, I believe, which is the digital bug, Rhinocebus. And its effect reads that you need 2 or more level 7 light insect type monsters, and you can also XZ summon this card by detaching 2 XZ materials from a rank 5 or 6 insect type XZ monster you control. Then using that XZ monster as the XZ material. XZ materials attached to that monster also become XZ materials attached on this card. If this card attacks the defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Once per turn during the player's turn, you can detach 1 XZ material from this card, then destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with the highest defense, all if tied. That is absolutely great because you can combo with the Scurator, then go into Rhinocebus and just destroy, like, oh, it's very, very crazy card. This is probably the best one in my opinion because it's a non-targeting, a card that blows up one monster or more if they have the same defense. So now that I've kind of discussed each card's effect and what they all do, I just kind of want to talk about the archetype a little bit and their potential in the upcoming meta, and maybe being tier 1, tier 2, or maybe just falling out completely and being a tier 3 deck. So as the tier 1 factor, I don't think this deck can make it, especially with like Blue Eyes out now, Cosmo getting Dark Lady, Dark Magician's going to be an upcoming deck with Dark Illusions comes out, so that's going to be pretty scary for digital bugs. They have a lot of decks to compete with right now. And I just don't think digital bugs, with being like their biggest boss monster is only 2600 attack, I don't think they can really hold up against that many decks in the meta right now. I mean, the only good thing about the deck is that you can use Honest in it because all the XZs are all light type, so that's a good thing about it. But other than the ability of Honest, that's not a that's not going to win you a game against a Cosmos. So I think the deck does definitely have some potential as maybe, potential as a tier 2 or maybe just a fun deck in general because I've used it a little bit. It has a pretty good matchup against some decks. Like, if you're going into Cosmos, you're probably fine. Or you're not fine. You're gonna get totally wrecked because most of the effects target, and you're gonna be kind of too slow to really deal with all the stuff that they're pushing at you. The Lunalights, they have a pretty bad matchup again because, once again, Lunalights can't be targeted, or some of the bigger ones can't be targeted. And this deck just targets, but it does kind of loop and loop and loop and loop. That's the one really, really good thing about this deck, is it really never really runs out of resources, which I absolutely love about it. But beside that, this deck is kind of lackluster and not as good as I think it should have been, especially with, Cosmos getting Dark Planet, Blue Eyes getting all their new support, and, just Lunalights are really big and beefy, and then, Morphages are pretty slow also, and that means, they can't really, Digital Bugs have a decent matchup against them, obviously, because Morphages, they just can't stay on the field long enough to really do anything. So, good potential, not really a good meta matchup, and, plenty of looping, so overall, I think it will be a fun deck instead of a tier 1 deck. It might have like a spot in the tier 2 at some point, but I don't think it'll be too much of a stretch to get that, but it'll definitely be a really long shot if it ever makes it to tier 1. So, this has been Arknote, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and check out my team's channel. It'll be in the description below. So, this has been Arknote. See you guys.